Okay guys, I'm sorry I wasn't able to be here today, but here are what we're going to do. We're going to take some notes and you're going to follow along. If you need the sub to stop this because you're not keeping up or you need to pause it, I'm also going to put it on Google Classroom, but you don't have to watch it on there. You can watch it here, but if you need to go back and refer to some things, that's fine. So, what we're going to do, this is our notes page. This is not your assignment, this is your notes page. But it's two notes page actually, and I combined them. So you're going to cut your page down the center where you have the inequality page with the little flip-flops and this page that says inequalities and the golden rule. Can't really see it from with the glare. But that has the golden rule of inequalities. Okay, these are our two note pages that we're going to take. Okay, we're going to start with the flip-flop page. It's got a little less writing, and it says it has the flip-flops of good visual, and it says inequalities order matters. So if you have a pencil or a pen, I want you to get that because I want you to in some way make that important. Order matters is a very big deal. Okay, and I've said this many times before, but order of our equations really does. It changes the way we solve things if we don't pay attention to order. Okay, so the order that we really want as mathematicians is we want the variable first. We want the variable first, which can be X, can be G, can be Q, it can be anything in this planet, but we want the variable first. I like to pick X because it's the most common and you've seen me use it a lot. We were using P when we were dealing with the princess game. It doesn't really matter what your variable is, but it's your letter. And then you're going to have your inequality symbols. We talked about those yesterday. There are 4 types. Inequality symbol. There are 4 types of these. I'm just going to draw greater than or equal to. But it's any of the 4. Greater than or equal to, less than, equal to, or greater or less than or equal to. Any of them. But any inequality symbol. So the order so far is we want variable, inequality sign, and then your constant, otherwise known as a number. The number we solved for. And guys, if you paid attention to the worksheet we did today, or yesterday, sorry, I'm filming this in the afternoon. What we did yesterday in class, we had it exactly that. We had variable, inequality sign, and constant. Variable, inequality sign, constant. That is what tells us, that's how we can use that trick of where it points, that we can just make the open sign, which this one's a closed one, open or closed, and then it colors the way, it tells us which way to go because of the arrow. That only works if it's in that special order. Okay? So, always keep that in mind that if it's not in this order, if it's flipped around, you have to flip it around. Hence, the flip-flops. Okay? If it is not in the order that we want it, we have to flip-flop it. Okay? So, if, I'm going to write kind of within here, if you have to flip-flop, flip-flop, oops, flip-flop the inequality I can spell, really I can. You must flip the sign or the direction. Okay, and sorry you can't see that. You must, if you have to flip-flop the inequality, you have to flip the direction. Okay, that sounds really weird, but we're going to do an example over here. Say your inequality looks like 11 greater than or equal to B. Well, we want to flip-flop, flip-flop. Okay? Flip-flop. We're going to flip-flop it. That means I want variable first. And notice how this is kind of pointing to the B. Well, we still want it to flip. So we're going to change it from greater than or equal to less than or equal to 11. That's all we're talking about here. So that's what the flip-flop is instead of having the number first, we want the variable first. Okay, and this is simply a visual to help you know what is happening. You've taken your variable and just put them in front. You've taken your inequality sign where it's opened up into the 11 to where it's still opened up until the 11. But if we read this, it started out as 11 is greater than B to B is less than 11. It means the exact same thing, but we did technically change it. So that is why we have a whole page of notes on it. Okay? Don't let this confuse you. This is simply flip-flop. You just want it in the variable inequality constant order. Okay? So, we're going to glue this in, but let's get out our other page. This page that talks about the golden rule of inequalities. Okay, we're going to kind of jump around on this. We're actually going to go down here. This is review. We're going to ignore this for now. This is review. Which inequality symbols have an open circle? Well, it's less than, greater than, and not equal. Those are the three that have an open circle. The things that have a closed circle are less than and equal to, greater than and equal to, and equal. So each have three symbols. We have talked about this a ton without even knowing it. And we talked about this in those previous notes. These we've talked about the last 2 days. So let's go up here to our rules. This is how you solve inequalities. And y'all have been pretty good at it without even really knowing what you were doing. Okay, the whole first step is the whole goal is to get the princess by herself, or get the variable by itself. Get the variable by itself. Or when we were dealing with the princess, by herself. We just want the letter by itself. That's the whole goal. We know this. This is not a shock to us. Okay? Then, this is the part where inequalities comes in, where it's a little bit trickier. You've got to check order. You might, you might need to flip-flop. Okay? What is the order that we wanted? And I'm kind of running out of room, but we want variable, inequality sign, number, right? We can do 17 to make it not look like. That's the order that we want it. We want it variable, inequality sign, number. Okay? Then we want to then we want to solve it and find the number on the number line. Okay? Then we have to ask ourselves, open circle or closed circle? And then you're going to shade. Shade the line. Okay? Alright. I've kind of taken this in pieces. We have solved equations, so we have done this. And then today we practice finding the number, open circle, close circle, and shading the line. Now we're just going to put them all together. We've already done so many of the pieces. Now let's just do it. Okay? Now, one last thing. We have to talk about the golden rule of inequalities. Okay? And this is going to be a little technical, and you're not going to have to worry about it too many times. And when I come back, we'll talk about it a whole lot more, because this is where people forget. The golden rule of inequalities is if you multiply or divide by a negative number, you must flip the sign. Okay? You have to flip the sign, or even more appropriately, the inequality sign. Okay? Now, again, we're not going to talk about this as much today in your notes, but keep this in mind that you are going to have to do this. Okay? Now, here's an example. It's pretty complex, so we're going to save our example until I get back, because there are x's on both sides, and we haven't solved anything quite this complex. So our example is going to be from the page I hand you. Okay, the page I hand you, this is the front side that starts with 9 plus x is greater than or equal to 16. And the back side is this. It's got some decimals in it. Do not let that scare you. Because this is the more complex side, let's start here, okay? In your notes, I'm going to do a couple of the questions, okay? Now, we're going to follow the rules of what we just said. So, you can have this out. I actually want you to keep this out. All right, again, the first goal, we want the variable by itself. So the variable is this x. Agreed? Yes. Okay, we want it by itself. We don't want anything with it. So what are the things that are with it? Right now, it is connected with a subtract 12.7. Well, I don't want 12.7. I want to add. I want to get rid of it. So the opposite, going back to our notes, going back to inverse operations, the opposite of subtraction is addition, and it goes back and forth. So, to get rid of this subtraction, I have to add. But just like the guards, we've always said, and we're going to draw a line here, because that's the wall. If I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other side. Now, guys, you have a calculator. I want you to use it. Y'all are really good at it. Okay? But I want you to go negative, because that's what it says, negative 16.5 minus, whoops, excuse me, plus, I can say the right thing, sorry guys, 12.7. And your answer is negative 3.8. So x is negative 3.8. Now, we've got to make sure it is in the right order. That is the next thing. Because we got the variable by itself, now we've got to make sure it's in the right order. Is it variable, inequality, number? Sure enough, this one's good. It's in the correct order. Now we've got to find it on the number line. So negative 3.8, it's between 3 and 4, and this is counting by 5, so 3.8 is right here. And then we ask ourselves, open circle or closed circle? Well, it is one of our open circle ones, right? It's right here. It's open circle. Whoops. So I need to do an open circle. And then I have to say, okay, it's pointing this direction. So I've got to shade everything that direction. Okay? Now, let's try this one. Okay. Again, variable, by himself. We want him alone, or her alone. We want to draw our wall so we know things can't cross. So, it's attached by division. That is a division line. So, the opposite is multiplication. So, I'm going to multiply 2.5 on each side. This cancels out, and I'm left with just x, my inequality sign, and it is, there's multiplication between there. You can't really see it. I messed up. You can't really see it. Okay. So it is 2.5 times negative 1.8. And you get negative 4.5. Okay, so now we have to ask ourselves, is it in the correct order? Does it go variable? No! Wait, immediately. I can already go, it's wrong. That is a number, that is a constant, that is not a variable. So I need to flip it. So I want variable first, and then I have to flip my sign, and then write my number. Now, notice it's like, again, we talked about Pac-Man and we talked about alligators. The alligator is eating the 4.5. It's still eating the 4.5. That is what I want most of all. Okay, so now that is the correct order. Now I can locate negative 4.5, which is right here, and I have to ask myself, open or close circle? Open. And I see which way it's pointing. It's pointing that way. So that's the way I have to go. Okay? Now, guys, don't let these freak you out. They're really not that bad. You just have to pay attention to them. They're okay. We'll do one more, and then I'm going to let you do it. Okay, find your variable. Here's your variable. Now, it is attached with an add because it's a positive, so the opposite is negative. So negative. These zero out. I don't want them. I still left with x, my inequality sign, and negative 5.81 minus 3.1, and I get 9. Negative 9. Okay? Now, check the order. Is it variable, inequality sign, constant? Yep, we're good. It's in the correct order. So, I look for negative 9, open or close circle because it's a greater or less than or equal to. It points this direction. So that is the direction I'm going to shade. I can even make it a little bigger. Okay. Now, let's flip to the back here. These are so much easier. Okay, the real hard one here is this one right here. I think this is the one that's going to kind of freak y'all out as a class. So, we're going to have to it's dividing. So we're going to have to multiply by 9 on both sides. This will cancel out and you'll be left with just x. 1 times 9 is 9. So, is it in the correct order? X variable 9. Sure enough, we're good. So we can just locate our number. It's a positive 9. And it's going to be open circle. And we're going to shade this way. So, that is your review for how to do these. I want this page finished. If you need to take it home, that's okay, but I would like it finished when I come back on Friday. So, have this page done and have your notes glued in. Sorry, it got all blurry. Alright, so have this page finished, particularly this part on the back, and glued in, and you can work in your tables, you can work in your groups, but you've got to get this done. This video is about 20 minutes, so that means you have about 20 minutes left. You need to work really hard to get this done, but you can do it. This is just like the maze we did yesterday. There is notes in your journal over it. You can do this, and you can talk to your partners, okay? All right, I will see you on Friday. I can't wait. Bye.